In this video, we are going to take a peek at what does a lab look like in Edgenuity. You will have many virtual labs in Edgenuity, so let's go ahead and take a look at what is expected of you for each lab as part of your grade. You will get to a section in your lab that will say Virtual Lab right up here. Most students will read this and say, did you read the student guide carefully? And then press yes, and then press next. It is very important that you go ahead and click on this link in the student guide and open that up. Sixth grade lab, and in this lab, this virtual lab is exploring cells. This is the student guide, and it gives all the information on what it is the lab is going to be doing. It will tell you that it takes approximately 60 minutes to go through all the steps of the lab. So you can read this at your leisure. It'll go through the scenario, the lab procedure, the steps, what you need to do. This one is looking at organisms under the microscope and then recording classifications for each of the organisms and then repeating those steps. It's important to go all the way down, and here's where you're going to collect the data and record your data depending on what it is that you were looking at underneath the microscope. So you would sketch it out, color it if need be, and fill in the appropriate data into the boxes. So there are many steps in this one. This is part of the grade, and that's something that you will need to upload as part of your grade. The next important part of the lab is the actual lab report. You will need to click on the documents provided and download these documents to see what it is that you will be performing. So let's go ahead and take a look. This is the descriptive lab report guide for the cells lab under the microscope that we just performed. If you would like to type this without printing it out, you're going to have to enable editing, most likely, and then you will be able to, after you read the directions carefully, you will be able to type in this document directly. You will type in complete sentences, paragraphs when needed, outline the steps, what charts and data did you use. If you need to either add in charts or draw in charts. So if it's something that you do need to draw in some of the data that you used, so we were looking underneath the microscope, so you would need to draw in that data. So you may want to go ahead and print this one out so you can show what you learned. You need to answer this at least 2 to 3 sentences in length. Okay, what would you do differently and why? Okay, and then you are going to fill out this section of the lab report. So in reading this, this is the last part of the lab report. This is like what you would give your boss if you had found the research for looking at the microscope, sorry, what you looked at. So you're going to use your answers from questions 1 and 2 to first do your first section of the lab report. This is not a repeat of the answers above. It is changing it, combining it, making it a cohesive paragraph to give the reader a background information, why you conducted the lab, how it was completed. And here is the key. It should be 1 to 2 paragraphs in length. That's section 1. Section 2 is observation and conclusions. So what you did in questions 3 and 4 is the second section of your lab. This provides readers with the charts and the drawings and the tables, and you will need to include answers to the follow-up questions. This should be giving titles and explanations for your charts and any data that you wrote down. And last is basically your conclusion. When you complete the lab should be read as a coherent whole. Give a conclusion, make sure you connect the different pieces with transitions, and then review for obviously grammar, spelling, punctuation, formatting, and other conventions for good writing. So it's like a written paper, a beginning, a middle, and an end. What did you conclude? Okay. The next section, and you don't need to print this off, it's something that the teacher prints off, is the descriptive lab report rubric, but you may want to take a look at what it is you're going to be graded on. You will be graded on the experimental overview, okay? The extent to which the report establishes the main purpose of the experiment and outlines a method for achieving these goals, the data, the extent to which the report demonstrates a clear, accurate, clear, and organized presentation of the information, and conclusion, the extent to which the report demonstrates a thorough conclusion. And then lastly, organization, okay? The extent to which the lab report follows the report guidelines. It will be very important. It will be graded on all of these aspects. For a full grade, you need to have the lab report filled out and you need to have the data included from the student guide. Both of those are part of your grade. To add these files, you click the Add Files button, just like you do in Google Classroom. The accepted files are shown here. The most likely you will be in a doc or a PDF. If you look here, JPEG is not able to be uploaded. If you don't know how to do a PDF, please go back and watch how to change something to a PDF. A doc is typing on that form directly, saving it, and uploading it to this file. You can add more than one file to this assignment. So please be very careful before you submit and make sure that you have your descriptive lab report and your student guide included and any other information that needs to be included to the lab for full credit. If you should have any other questions, please make sure that you ask them prior to the due date of the lab report being due. I hope this helped, and I wish you all the best of luck on all of your science labs this year in Edgenuity.